Why not use our elbow on steroids? And then if I'm gonna do gluteal work on someone, especially because I know that I'm a male therapist with a female client, when women are dealing with us, and you know this just because we have like gender norms that we have to deal with as male therapists, I feel very uncomfortable if I have to go in and do gluteal work like undraped.
I always leave a blanket up, but I only really do pin and
You work?
strips.
Do you work like through the sheets or whatever? Yeah,
But
and I
roll
did
it up
too.
to, like right behind their knee,
Yeah.
bone around their leg,
I-
and I do like a bunch of pin and strips.
Yeah, I learned how to do drape, and I've done that before in a session, but it just at a certain point, it just felt to me like I was getting better results just from compression through the sheets. So it also removed that potentially, they get a breeze, feel uncomfortable. It also just feels different to me to like use these little small structures, hands on gluteals. When I would work on people, one, I could come in just to establish contact, and I could come in and sort of like work in the lumbar just to see. Do you have any is it more like upper back pain usually?
Yeah,
Okay. So no real low back pain is what I'm checking on?
sometimes.
Sometimes, okay. And I'm just doing this just to get a little bit of movement. And then could I come in and use my fists or use my forearms, elbows? Sure. Why not use our elbow on steroids? Because I selected this table specifically because it's so low, it's going to make this much easier for me, is I would come in here and go, hey, how's the pressure there? Is that too sharp? Okay. If I come in a little bit more from the side, is that too sharp? Now what if I give you some rock right there? Cool, all right. And then in my case, I'm gonna slide off this shoe. I got a little more space here. And do you prefer the pressure right there, or do you think I should be a little closer down towards the tailbone? Okay. So if I hang in right there, do you want a little more pressure? Okay. And then to reinforce, I'm gonna take this forearm. How's that right there? And then my hands are free, so I'm just gonna come over here across the body. I could work over here, I could work on the rotator cuff, I could work on the tricep, but this is the primary piece. From right there, do you want more traction like down towards the tailbone or up? Oh, okay, up. So let me change right there. Cool, what do you think, right there? There we go. Do you prefer the rocking or the static pressure? Okay. There's something about the energy signature of using your knees and your feet that completely changes the nature of like how we're interacting with people. I've never worked on a woman in session who felt like something with my knees or feet was even remotely inappropriate. And over time, it just felt weird to like try to use my hands on glutes. It was just like, one, it didn't feel like the right tool, and then two, it was just so much more intimate. Whereas these deeper compressions with my knees or my feet, there was no doubt about what I was doing while I was working like a fairly intimate area. Yeah. Am I making you seasick yet? Okay. And then what do you think? A little more pressure right there? Okay. A little sharper? There we go.
What about for more pinpoint spots when you use your elbow?
Yeah. So general to specific, superficial to deep, always. This is an elbow on steroids. I would start with something larger, and then if I had softened this and I felt like she needed more, I would then come in and almost do the exact same thing with a forearm and an elbow. I started with this because it's usually easier for people to receive this, and I didn't bring a towel with me, but occasionally somebody will have a little more. Are you good? Okay. Occasionally somebody will have gluteals that are so tight that even this, it's like, it's a little too much. And then what I would do, I'm going to place my remote on you for just 1 second, is I would take a towel like this and usually fold it like this. Now think about it from her perspective. I went in, I've already worked on some of this, but this is, let's say she's come in, it's the first time I've worked on her. I come in and cover her up even more. She's clothed, she's completely clothed, but I've covered her even more, and then it dampens the pressure I'm about to deliver. It's not as sharp. And to go back to your question where you're talking about the elbow, now if I come off and use the elbow, it can be through the towel and it's not as sharp, right? Then I could eventually take the towel off, because maybe we want something a little bit more pointed. Yeah, yeah. Not only does it cover them and make them feel safe and secure, but it also dampens the pressure so it's not quite so sharp. But going back to what he was saying specifically about like more pinpoint pressure, because I think you like this, you like all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, so what about our elbow on steroids? We think right there? Cool. Now, do you like more to the midline or more lateral? Lateral, cool. You want more pull that way? There we go. Now, it's the same thing. You guys have already done this with your elbow, right? This isn't anything new other than the fact that I'm just using my elbow on steroids. Now, if I get tired of using that knee and I'm like, I don't know, I want a different angle, can I come in with the other? Sure, sure you can. Right there. Okay, what do you think? Right there? Oh, now what does this do? Because I'm still in the gluteals, but it's getting a little more hip flexor, right? Like a little more rectus femoris, yeah. And I go, what do you think over there? A little more lateral. Lateral, cool. What do you think about right here? Cool, what about over here? Too much? That's the way that, no, it's good. I'm dying. And it's just a variant on a theme. You know, if I decide to drop in to use my forearm and elbow, it's totally fine. But you can literally work anything from tailbone up along the sacrum. Like there's nothing in there usually that's not gold. It's just you're going to have to dig a little bit to find out where the client is having some tension and where they're going to prefer the work. A lot of people who are having what they call sciatica are usually just having piriformis tightness. It's a really potent tool to have a larger tool. One, you're going to save your hands, but two, it's just more broad.
That's the main reason I was asking.
Yeah.
Piriformis. I know
Yeah.
I can put my knuckles on that piriformis and stretch that. I
Yep.
didn't know if I could get it with my
Yep.
knee.
What I think happens is when we use a bigger, broader tool, it's easier for them to receive pressure. So we'll build up to a point with Kristen and I, if you guys continue training with us. We're using suspension, which long story short is it's like a hammock I sit in that supports my body weight, so I can sit down and literally put double-footed compressions on your quads. When I do that and put my feet side by side and I've got both my feet wrapped around your quad, I'm standing over the surface area of half of your upper leg.